Okay, we talked about the golden era of Hollywood. I was born kind of into the golden era of Hollywood, but the beginning, not that long ago. I mean, there were people who would often ask me, what was the first thing you ever did in Hollywood, the first interview you ever did in Hollywood? Well, actually, the first interview with a star that I did was not in Hollywood. It was in Boston, and it was with Steve McQueen in a movie called The Thomas Crown Affair. And one of the first celebrities I interviewed was Alfred Hitchcock in Washington, D.C. But before that, a long time before that, was a small town in North Carolina. We had two movie theaters. We had People's and we had the Imperial. People's was the theater where the first run quality movies played. The Imperial was where the B-budget films played, and on Saturday afternoon there was my favorite, the Durango Kid, and Lash LaRue, and Nauka the Jungle Girl in a serial. And there were two theaters. But between you and me, I have no regrets of growing up in a small town in North Carolina. I think it was great, providing that you escape. And I did escape soon enough. But I remember, even as a child, I was somewhat opinionated. I remember my mother took me to see The Wizard of Oz, which everybody adores. And she was very upset because I found it inferior. And I said, I don't like this movie. And she said, no, well, everybody likes the movie. I said, this girl is crazy. And I don't know how old I was. I think I was maybe 10, 8, something. I said, why would anybody want to go back to a farm in Kansas that's in black and white when she could live in a technicolored world with all the color? I said, this girl is out of her mind. And I said, plus, she doesn't know how to run away from the witch. I said, the witch is way too overdone. Now, how I knew at that age, I thought it was overdone. But anyway, I decided at an early age what I wanted to be was a movie critic, because I first realized that there were movie critics who did not live in either New York or Los Angeles. And this was a revelation to me. I saw a newspaper from Richmond, Virginia. We lived in the country, but we took the New York Times, we took the Richmond Times-Dispatch, we took several newspapers. And I noticed that this woman in Richmond was a critic. And I thought that you had to live in New York or Hollywood to be a critic, that there was no hope of anywhere else. And I suddenly realized she just lived in Richmond, which was 2 hours away, and she got free tickets to the, I never worried about the salary. I just was interested in she got free tickets to the movie. So time went by, and I kept it a secret. I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, which incidentally has a highly respected school of journalism, which has always been regarded as one of the best schools of journalism. So my parents said, well, now, what are you going to major in? And I said, I'm going to major in journalism because I want to be a movie critic. And my father said, no, 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 you cannot, you're going to law school. You want to go to law school. Or you want to go to medical school. I said, I know medical school is out of the question, because if one of my patients died, I would give up. I said, I could not take it that any patient died. No, law school, maybe law school, but I don't think so. Anyway, they were quite loose. They allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do. I majored in journalism. I got a degree in journalism. And when I got out, there were no jobs for anybody who wanted to be a movie critic. There were many jobs for political writers, which I was a very good student. I got very good grades, and they said, you know, we have several job offers for you. And one was in Charlotte, North Carolina, in writing about politics. And I said, no, well, to tell you the truth, politics would be my second choice, because I think it's very close to show business. very close. But I figured it's 4 years between, the runs. I mean, what do you do in the time in between the elections? So anyway, eventually it was a roundabout way. I worked for several years covering police, covering fires, and things like that, which I hated every moment of it. I lived in mortal fear that this was going to be my place in life. They would say, "Where are your clippings?" I said, "But I know a great deal about movies. I know everything about movies. I know a lot about movies. So what? Where are your clippings?" Well, I didn't have many clippings because I was very self-conscious about being a critic. I wrote several reviews and I got very troubled about giving people bad reviews. Franchot Tone, if you know the actor Franchot Tone, he was in Mutiny on the Bounty. He had a son who was named Pascal Tone. I'm not sure who his mother was. It may have been Joan Crawford. I don't know. But he did a production of Hamlet at the University of North Carolina, which I reviewed. I think he played Laertes. I don't think he was Hamlet. But I thought it was particularly bad. And he had been a friend of mine, and so I wrote it. He never spoke to me again. He never spoke to me again. And I thought, well, you gotta adjust to this. Anyway, I did become a critic at the Virginian Pilot in Norfolk, Virginia. And I remember my mentor, who was the entertainment editor, had been there 30 years before me. And he told me once, he said, "Vincent," he always called me Vincent, he said, "you'll never last in this business." I said, "Mr. Twyford," why? His name was Warner Twyford. I said, "Why? Why did you say that?" He said, "Well, you do all right. You can write, but you want people to like you. You want people to like you, and you cannot be liked." He says, at the end of this review, you'll give them a bad review, and then you'll say, "But they could improve, and there may be some hope for them." There is no hope for these people. I said, "Well, Mr. Twyford, maybe it's fair that somebody might like me. It might be all right if somebody liked me." And he said, "No, you want to be liked, and you'll never last." Well, I did last 40 years longer than that, which I might add was longer than his career from beginning to end. And a lot of people hated me along the way, and you have to get used to it. But you don't get used to that. For me, there is no great joy. There never has been of writing a bad review of a person. But I don't hesitate to do it. I sometimes say it in a kind way. But anyway, it began. And there have been thousands of reviews since then, and there have been hundreds of interviews with the stars. And they are two entirely different items, two different jobs. But many of us around the country do both. One is a personality profile, the other is a review. They are similar, they're on the same subject matter, but entirely different. And I have, unfortunately, done personality interviews, profiles, on people who were particularly bad in something I'd just seen, and you just avoid discussing their performance. But there have been many, and sometimes they will ask you directly whether you liked it or not. And you can often say, "Well, I like the photography, or I like the set designs, or the costumes, or something." Occasionally there's something you didn't like anything about it, and you say, "Well, there will be other chances for you." There are only a few people that I remember crying. Rod Steiger, there were a couple of people actually cried in my presence and it was not a comfortable moment. Rod Steiger was one. He started crying. I do not know why he started crying. He was talking about Dr. Zhivago and what an amateur Julie Christie was, that she knew nothing about acting. And he attacked her in a scene that he was supposed to attack her. And David Lean got very mad with him because he says the attack was a bit too realistic. But he started crying about this. Another I remember is Tommy Tune, who was in a movie called The Boyfriend, which was an awful movie. But Tommy Tune was not so bad in it. He just had a tap dance in it. And he came up to me and he said, "What did you think of the movie?" And I said, "Well, Tommy, you know, it's your first film and you'll be in." He says, "You didn't like it." Nobody likes it. It's the end of my career. I'll never make another movie. It's the end. And he started crying. And this was at a party that many people were looking. And I says, "Tommy, you were okay in the movie. There will be other movies. Don't worry about it." Meanwhile, everybody's looking, what has he done now? He's insulted somebody else. He shouldn't be let out in public. These things happen, and you have to keep going. But I will tell you about some of the people I interviewed. For instance, can I tell you about, I don't know, you want to hear about Mae West? Well, okay. Mae West was like about 75 years at the time when I interviewed her. And she had not made a movie for at least 20 years. My guess would be 20 years. She was making Myra Breckenridge. It had just been announced. She was making Myra Breckenridge. I, quite foolishly, everybody told me, called 20th Century Fox publicity department, and I said, "I would like an interview with Mae West." And they said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I am Mal Vincent with the Virginian Pilot in Norfolk, Virginia." And they said, "Is that a daily?" I love when they said that. "Is that a daily newspaper?" I said, "That newspaper has the largest circulation of any paper in Virginia, and yes, it is a daily." "Well, many people want interviews with Miss West." I said, "Well, I would like, I will give you this number and let me know. We'll phone you back if anything can be arranged." I kid you not. It was not 15 minutes later, I got a call and they said, "Miss West will have dinner with you tonight at an Italian restaurant." He gave me the name. "And do not be late." I hung up the phone and I thought, this is a joke. Someone is putting me on. But I thought, well, I'm going to show up at the Italian restaurant. So I did. Now, those of you who live in Los Angeles, this was a very small, run-down restaurant. It was not one of the hot spots of Los Angeles. It was not the Coconut Grove. It was not the Brown Derby. It was a run-down little Italian restaurant. And I looked at it and I began more sure that someone was playing a joke on me. So it was close to the Century Plaza Hotel. If you live in Los Angeles, it was on Santa Monica Boulevard behind the Century Plaza Hotel. I arrived and there was a press agent there who was Miss West's press agent. Then I began to think this might really happen. He gave me detailed instructions. He said, "Miss West does not drink alcoholic beverages, but you may have anything you like. I suggest you have a mixed drink now. If she likes you, she may have a glass of wine." Well, this is, live. What if she doesn't like you? She may have a glass of wine if she likes you. She likes health food. She will possibly have seaweed. He named various things. But she does not mind what you have. You may order a steak if you would like. You may order anything you like. Do not refer to her at any time as May. Refer to her as Miss West at all time. I said, "Well, of course. What do you think?" There was a detail. So we wait. This is a very dark restaurant. Then I see this white thing coming through the darkness. Everything is white. The woman is extremely short. She's like, I don't know, she looked 4 feet tall, but she must be 5 something. She had on a white full-length evening dress with white gloves, opera gloves. She had blonde hair cascading down over the shoulder, obviously a wig, but cascading long blonde hair with a white veil over the top. And it takes her 15 minutes to get across the floor. She had on shoes that were platform, maybe huge platform shoes. and we have a little doggy here with us. Uh, uh, Wallace, what? Come up, come on, come on. Well, Wallace is here with me. What? What? Whatever, whatever. Wallace, later, dog. You're messing me up here with my show. Whatever. So the heels are like that. She can only slide her feet. She cannot pick her feet up. She gets to the table and she says, "Don't get up. Save your energy. Don't get up." I said, "You're Miss West, I presume." And she says, "Yes." She says, "Are you sure you're an editor? Are you the entertainment editor of your paper?" I said, "Yes." She says, "Well, you're terribly young to be an editor." I said, "Well, I'm the entertainment editor." She says, "Well, what's your circulation?" Well, I begin to think, no, she's going to back out. I said, "We have quite a large circulation. We have 200,000. Well, I wasn't really thinking about that kind of circulation. What's your circulation? I said, it's good enough. Okay, all right. So then we had 2 hours. She ordered a steak. She ordered a glass of wine right away. She had many glasses of wine, which made me feel good because I think she likes me. So we talked about, the pictures. And she says, my fans are all excited. They're going to see me in Technicolor. She went on and on. She says, "I've never been in Technicolor before. This is my first picture in Technicolor." The fans are carried away. You know how many thousands of fan letters I get every day? I said, "No, Miss West, I don't know." Quite a few. I have to hire 2 people to answer them. And so she said, well, So she was undoubtedly Mae West, but she forgets for a few moments at a time that she's Mae West. And she'll talk quite normally. But then she remembers she's Mae West and she has to give you a line, She says, I had the Los Angeles Rams over the other night. And I said, "Oh, the whole team?" She said, No, just the first string. I felt a little tired. I said, oh, you know what? So this man with her, his name was Paul, that's all I remember. He was a former Mr. Universe. And he was an aging former Mr. Universe. And so I wanted to get him into the conversation. I said, "And what do you do?" And he said, "I am Miss West's personal companion and bodyguard." And she says, "Yeah. And he does secretarial work too." So, the most innocent thing. So he does secretarial, most innocent thing. She remembers she is Mae West and she will give you a line. And she always rolls her eyes up toward the ceiling just before the line. And she says, "Oh." She rolls her eyes up and she says, "Oh," just before the line, and here comes the line. "I invited the Los Angeles Rams over last night." You know the line. So in the middle of this woman came over to the table and she said, "Aren't you Mae West?" And she said, "Well, yeah, the last time I checked." She says, "Well, you're the greatest star of all time. You're a legend. You're a legend." She says, wait a minute. She says, "Are you giving me a compliment or you're taking inventory?" And she said, "Well, you just were the greatest star of all time." And she says, "Well, coming from a woman, that's a big compliment." She says, "What can I do to help you?" And she says, "Well, I'm with the Canadian press, and I've always wanted to do an interview with you." She said, "Oh, the whole country?" She said, "Yeah, I'm with the Canadian press." She says, "Well, that's impressive." She said, "Leave your name here with my man here, and he'll get in touch with you." She went away and she turned away and she says, "I think that broad was trying to horn in on your interview." She said, "I don't do interview with female reporters." She said, "I don't find them really that interesting." So, so she went. So she said, "I can't wait to be in Technicolor with you." And I said, "Well, I understand Raquel Welch is in the film with you." She said, "Who?" I said, "Raquel Welch." She said, "Yeah, they told me this girl is in the picture. She said, but what's she ever done? What's she been in? I said, well, she's been in a few movies. Well, okay, as long as she's a professional. But she says, I wear white in the film. She said, I'll tell you one of my secrets. It's in my contract. Nobody in the film wears white other than me. Because you look at any film from any scene and the eye always goes to the person wearing white. I said, oh, well, true. So, she says, well, I kind of like your style. And she says, I'm interested in reading what you write. And she said, you think of some good lines, go ahead and use them. It's okay. It's all right. Don't worry about it. I said, okay. Yeah. So I did get a note, which I have, from Miss West, which came some 6 months later. And she said she liked the article. She said, I could tell you were a young man by the way you write. I like your style, Mae West. And then it's a note paper which has a picture of the Venus, I assume it's the Venus de Milo. Possibly it's Mae West. She thinks it's Mae West herself. But anyway, one of the memorable events. And we will now take a break. How long was that?
Okay. All right, I'm rolling.
Here we are with Wallace Scotty Dog. Wallace actually is the fourth in a line of Scotty dogs who has helped me do reviews. The most famous of which was Duncan. Now Wallace is just an ordinary dog. He's just an ordinary dog. But Duncan was a wonder dog. Duncan got offers from 3 national networks. The Animal Planet, the Discovery Planet, and another one. Because of an article we wrote about Duncan's reviewing movies. Duncan's favorite movie was Chicken Run. He loved Chicken Run. He loved the camels in, He loved the camels. Wallace wants to be scratched. He loves the camels in Lawrence of Arabia. Duncan hated Shirley MacLaine. He did not like Shirley MacLaine. He was scared of Betty Davis. He did not go for animated films, such as Lady and the Tramp, which you would think he would like. But I think he realized they were not real. He looked at me like, it's a drawing. It's not a real dog. Yet he went for claymation animals, such as Chicken Run and all those things. But anyway, Duncan got an offer to open the movie, Best of Show, the movie Best of Show at Toronto Film Festival. Duncan was to work the red carpet in a white tie. Anyway, Duncan was the most famous, but I also had Megan and Molly and now Wallace. And Wallace just eats dog food, and he does sometimes go to the movie theater. But there will never be another Duncan. I hate to say it in front of Wallace, but Duncan was an amazing dog. And we will tell you about some other dogs that we met. Some of them were actors. Never mind. All right,